Hello, everybody. Big Ruben here.
Jose.
We are welcome. We're men redefining manhood, a movement for father and men ready to rewrite what it means to be men. Let's redefine manhood together. One of the things that I do want to start off with, Jose, um, we kind of talked about it prior to starting everything.
Sure.
Um, we're a podcast. Um, I know that some of our videos that we put out, there may be some stuff on there that is, we may say stuff or make mistakes and stuff like that, but we bring it raw.
Absolutely.
One of the main focuses of this, I don't want anybody to take that this is too professional or unprofessional. We just try to keep stuff as real and raw as it could be, um, for us men.
Absolutely.
You know, as you've seen in one of our podcasts, I broke down, cried. We want to keep it as real as we can with you guys because we feel that this movement of addressing men's mental health and having these conversations are very, very important for us men, because a lot of us do struggle. And it kind of leads into our next topic that we're going to be talking about. Our topic that we're going to be discussing is why men shut down and how we could get to that point on reopening up safely when we feel that we're at that point.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's important. I think, I appreciate you, mentioning that. Our podcast is raw. It's not edited. I think that editing's not a bad thing, right? But when you edit, you may remove some of the originality, right, from the process. And I want this to be very natural, very original, very genuine for our audience. And I think we both share that sentiment. And so this topic is a very important topic because men tend to shut down, out of fear of being judged, right? And it can create dissociation or emotional numbing, right, to an extent that then not only are you not able to feel sad, but you're not able to experience happiness, you're not able to experience excitement, you're not able to experience a lot of the healthy emotions that are out there. So keeping yourself in a place where you can safely open up, create a support system and talk with people that you can feel safe around, it's important, right? I think it's huge. If we as men are able to do that, there's a very important part of us that grows, right? And that's that emotional side of us, right? That can grow and that can allow us to just vent and express, genuinely how we feel about certain things, like for example, for me, as we were talking earlier, one of the things that's been it's been hard, but with everything that's going on, right, and our son being in the military, you don't know what to expect, right, as a parent and as a father, but that is one of the things that we have to deal with, right? We have to deal with it, and we have to be supportive and figure out how to get through it, but at the same time understand that it's okay, right, to feel emotional about these things. And as you can see right now, I'm very emotionally moved, but I'm sure things will be well, and we keep the faith alive and we maintain ourselves within our support system and keep going forward.
Yeah.
So
Like I told, we talked earlier about this. I feel we're bringing this to other men, but also, like I told you, I wanted to make sure that I reached out to you, Jose, and let you know that I'm here for you. I care for you. I want what's best. I know that I can't even fathom to think of the emotions that's going through your mind, of what's going on.
Right.
And I feel a lot of that time, us men, we do shut down. You know,
Yeah.
we don't feel safe to have those conversations. And I'm like, no, we're talking, we're trying to preach about this. We need to put it to action. So, you know, like I told you, legitimately, I care about you. I want what's best, and I'm here for you. You know, and I think a lot of us men need to get to that point where we're there for each other. Because for me, for a very, very long time, I was that guy that, you know, I always talk personal experiences.
Yeah.
For a very long time, I was that man that hid my emotion. And like you said, I was at the state where there was just emotional numbness. I couldn't even find myself being happy with things that were things that I should be happy about.
Right.
Then, you know, I really worked at my emotions, and I think a lot of it was the birth of my daughter too that really brought the emotional side of me. And it was like I embraced it. Like, I'm okay with the emotional side of it. I don't feel that weakness. I don't feel that fear anymore of, you know, allowing my emotions to come out. I'm like, no, I'm cool with it. Like, it makes me feel lighter, like understanding, like, no, it's okay. Like, I'm okay to cry. I'm okay to let out this emotion. It's totally fine. But I know that there's a lot of other men out there still struggling in that area, and that's why, you know, this conversation is very, very important for us to have. Because, you know, how many men are not? You know, the talk's always, you know, men suffer in silence.
Absolutely.
And it's like,
And I can tell you, you know, that, you know, we've mentioned this before, right? Growing up and being taught, you know, coming from a Latino family, right? Growing up and being taught to suppress your emotions because men don't cry, right? Created a very different experience for me. You know, I was a very angry individual, you know, and I was trying to find unhealthy outlets to let that anger out, you know, oftentimes resorting to, you know, maybe looking for risky situations, you know, fights and stuff, right? When you're growing up, and, you know, and, you know, growing and learning to open up. And where I'm at now in this space in my life, right? Like, I feel okay, you know, feeling emotional. I feel okay, you know, crying about certain things that are important to me, right? Why not, right? I'd rather do that than suppress it, shut down, right? Become numb and not be available for my family, not be available for anyone, even in the type of work that I do, and or even resort to, you know, aggressive behavior, unhealthy approaches, and, you know, conduct and stuff like that, right? Which a lot of people and a lot of men might experience, right? And I'm like, no, you know what? I'm not going down that path. You know, I've been there when I was younger. You know, when I was a teenager, when I was, right? That's the last place that I want to be.
yeah. But I think it could lead into all kinds of stuff. Because, like,
Sure.
one of the, like, even for our next topic that we're going to get into, one of the things that really stood out to me about bearing my emotions is the physical issues that it caused me. I learned to bury my emotions so much that later in life, I was having issues with anxiety, having issues with finding myself to want to self-medicate with substances, with drinking, overly drinking, and it just became such a problem. And, you know, I look back on it, I'm like, dang, what could I have done different? And now I teach that with some of the clients that I work with, you know, and it's like, no, we have to overcome this, because there is going to be a lot of side effects behind it. Like,
Sure.
if you bury that emotion, for me, was the struggle with anxiety. And I seen something recently on social media that kind of stood out. I kind of laughed about it, but at the same time, I'm like, dang, I didn't really think about it like that. It said, dang, it's crazy that when I was younger, I used to go hang out at parties, do all kinds of crazy stuff, hang out with random people, and now I get anxiety to go to the store. And that for me hit fucking home so hard, because I'm like, I remember, like, you know, I've told my wife this before, I remember being out with my brothers doing really dumb stuff, and I'm like, I thank God that I made it past 18 because some of the stuff that we did, I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't even fathom to think like, wow. And then I recall, yeah, in my few years back when I was really struggling with anxiety, I couldn't even go to the store. I would get stomach issues. I would feel nauseous.
Absolutely.
And I kind of feel it was because of a lot of that pent up emotion.
Yeah.
And then I did some studying behind it in school, and I'm like, okay, it's
Yeah.
the suppression of my emotions. It's this, it's that. I'm like, dang. I'm like, so I think of, the other men out there, and I'm like, we have to find a positive outlet because
Absolutely.
it could be so harming, not only to ourselves physically, but also to our family. Because during that time frame, me and my wife struggled a lot because she's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like,
What's going on?
yeah, what's going on? Like, what do you mean And I'm like, I have to use the restroom, or I feel like I'm gonna throw up.
And that's important, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, it becomes so severe that other people notice it, right? And when other people notice it, I mean, that's very telling. Whether you shut down or whether you're symptomatic and have symptoms,
Yeah.
it becomes an issue, right? And I wanted to touch something on what you mentioned, right? About like the things that you got into and stuff. Things that I got into when I was a teenager as well, right? Like some people, when we talk about dissociating or emotionally becoming numb because they shut down, some people use the outlet of like cutting, right? To
Snapping
feel,
the rubber
yeah,
band.
to feel a sensation, to feel like they're still here, right?
Yeah.
And then other people go into a very different direction, into using substances, into
Risky
alcoholism,
behavior.
right? Into violence, into risky behavior. Yeah. So in a way, right, everybody tries to find a way to cope with that suppression of feelings.
Normalizing the feelings.
Yeah, and it's not it's not a productive way to go about it, because you hurt yourself, and in the process you hurt those around you,
Yeah.
So, personally, I think, that you have to weigh your costs and benefits, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And if the costs to it are going to be, that you're going to be destructive, you're going to be hurtful to yourself and to those that love you, and you're going to create a process of hurt and suffrage, wouldn't it be better, right, to take on the option of learning to open up, learning to develop a support system where you can feel safe and free about expressing how you truly feel, free of judgment, free of criticism, free of anything, and feel like you have the genuine support, right?
Yeah.
So,
And I feel too like I agree with you on that, but I also think too of guys that may not have that.
yes,
And I feel that that's why we've created this,
absolutely.
podcast, this structure that we have here. I like I say it all the time. I want the comments. Reach out. I had somebody reach out recently on our IG page, and
Yes.
I was like, whoa, okay, like, wow. Like,
That was great. That was great.
it felt good to hear that. Even a colleague of mine was like, hey, I've been watching your podcast. Like, I really like it. I've been watching it the other day, and it hit so many points. And I'm like, okay, we're getting somewhere. And I messaged you about it. I'm like, hey, listen.
Yes.
That gives me more drive to see that, hey, there is a lot of guys out there that are dealing with this situation, and we need to be there for each other. We need to find, because somebody may not have an outlet to go to.
Right.
So let it be me. Like, if you guys
Yeah.
like talk about it all the time, I try to be an open book as I can. So if you guys are struggling, I've said it before on my IG and when I was posting stuff, let me be an outlet. Like, let us be an outlet. If you guys are struggling, if you feel that there's nobody to talk to, come talk to us. Like,
Yeah, feel free to. Yes, send out a message. Ask for suggestions or ideas on how you may be able to, like, if you don't have that support system, and of course, we're there, right? Because it's a movement, right? It isn't just a podcast, but rather it's a movement that we're creating, to invite other men, right, to join in and to to begin that process of learning how to open up, learning how to take a very different path to being men with a
being crucified.
exactly, and
Yeah.
with the emotional stability and the confidence in their identity as men, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't require or need to be very strict or
Black and white.
yeah, black
Thinking.
and white, right?
Yeah.
Like there's got to be some sort of gray in there. It's okay for all of that, right?
Yeah.
We have to, right?
Yeah.
And especially with again how everything's going on in the world right now. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of preoccupation in various levels. With our
Work,
economy
money,
and so
everything.
forth. So
yeah. Work, money,
yeah,
politics, everything. So yeah, I just wanna, let people know, like, we're here for you guys. Like, we have to be like you said, exactly. We have to be the movement. We have to be the change.
yeah,
Because there's too much destruction around what us men could do if we bury our emotion.
absolutely.
Because I've sit back and I've thought too, like, in the time frame that I've been trying to change, I feel like I'm far more emotional than my partner, my wife. Like, I sit back and think, and like, even when, like, my son went off to college, when my daughter was born,
Sure.
When I think of how you're doing, when I think of life, everything, like, I feel those deeper emotions now.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like that before. And I think it's, again, like what you said, our culture, our upbringing. But I feel like there's a lot of other cultures and upbringings that are similar. Like, us men, we're supposed to be protectors, but what about when we need protection? What about when we need this
Help
support?
and support, yeah,
help.
absolutely.
Like, where's that at?
Yeah.
So I want to be that. I want to be, I want this movement to be that, for us to be there for each other and know, like, it's okay. Like, even this other podcast that I was watching, the guy was saying, yeah, that's cool for us to be there for each other, but I feel like we don't, as men, because we already know the weight of it is to be a man. So how am I supposed to tell another man what I'm going through when I'm already know how heavy that could be?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, forget that.
Yeah.
No, like, we have to be there for each other, because there may be one area where I could help you in, and there may be an area you can help me in, and that's
Sure.
how we grow as individuals, to be
Absolutely.
the strong men that we need to be for our families and for ourselves and for our communities and stuff. So,
Absolutely.
we have to be united in this movement. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, like our spouses are there for us, right? And they can help us and they can support us and vice versa, right? We're there for our spouses and we help them and we support them. But there's still that element, right?
Yeah.
Of being a woman that maybe only a woman will be able to understand and relate to.
Yeah.
Just like there's that element, right? That even though we get the support from our spouse, there's the element that only another man may be able to relate to, that they wouldn't be able to, right?
Yeah.
And so it would be unrealistic, right, to expect that from our spouse when they may not be able to offer that.
And I totally understand you from that perspective, because I remember when I first started going to therapy, I had a female therapist, and I wanted to talk to her about stuff, and I'm like, I don't feel
Sure.
that comfortable talking to you about something that is, like, really, like,
Yeah.
personal in regards to, like, how I feel as a man. You
Sure.
know what I mean? Because it was like, this doesn't feel like. Yeah, I understand she's coming from a safe space and she has all this education behind her, but it's like, it was hard. It was very difficult.
The personal element, right,
Yeah.
of connection and so
Yeah.
forth. So yeah, absolutely, Yeah, man. I'm glad that we're doing this, because it does create that space, for myself. I'm sure it creates it for you, and hopefully it creates it for other men. And like I mentioned to you too, Ruben, anytime that I appreciate your support, and anytime that you need anything from me or you need to talk as well, we can get together, bro. We can talk. like you mentioned, we can have some coffee, have some breakfast or something, you know, and
Yeah.
in the process invite other men, you know, that
Yeah.
we might
Yeah, I think we need to start a
we know
men
and stuff. Yeah,
a men coffee get together or something.
Sure.
You know,
Absolutely.
You know how they do for the sheriffs on the boulevard.
Yeah.
We should get guys together and
yeah,
kind of just hang out and have conversations, and like I feel like we need it. You know?
absolutely, man, absolutely. You know, so that would be great. You know, and yeah, definitely a great you know a great thing that we got going here. You know, and I hope that everybody out there, you know, that's all the men out there that are watching this, share it with other men. You know, let them know about our podcast. You know, and you know what it's all about. You know, and you know hopefully it's helpful to you, and you know you get something beneficial. And again, if there's any topics or anything, they can share it with us on
Yeah,
our
feel free
IG
to
and-
check out our IG, Men Redefining Manhood. Feel free to send us a message. You know, DM us, comment on our page, whatever. You know, I try to get back to people as quickly as possible. Like I said, we recently had somebody, and I seen it right away, and I was like,
Yeah,
I messaged him back right away, and I'm like, this is cool. Like, yes, we're
yeah,
getting somewhere.
absolutely,
Awesome.
man.
I love
Absolutely,
it.
You know,
So,
absolutely. You know, so that's great. Well, you know, we want to thank you guys for you know for taking the time to watch this. You know, and for seeing me get emotional here. You know, live and stuff. You know, but it was you know something that I couldn't contain. It's something that's been on my mind, and you know, and we figure out ways to keep moving forward, and you know, to create that support system, and hopefully it's something that you know that continues to flow, continues to grow and stuff. You know,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
So yeah, check us out. You know, wait for our next podcast, and you know, got different topics coming your way, and hopefully you enjoy them.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys for watching.